Hello, today is August 3rd, 2026, and I am doing another video for predictions for the remainder of 2026 and 2027 um, to follow up from the other videos that I did last year. Um, Give my official disclaimers. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a financial expert, nor am I giving financial advice. I am just telling you what I am doing or what's going to happen and how I'm going to prepare for it. Um, this information comes from three sources. I do my own research. Um, I also get information from the other side, which I've never been comfortable talking about on camera because I know how batshit crazy it sounds, but I do talk to angels and other beings, and we discuss stuff. And on top of that, I also learned that the universe runs on mathematical principles. So that's where I get this information from. And basically, what I'm going to cover today is the current world events, the current financial system status, supply issues, energy crisis, upcoming energy crisis or crises, wars, and other hot button political issues. And then in the final section, I am going to be sharing how I am going to be investing going forward. I will also be sharing what I think is one of the hottest tips that I was given, because I've not seen anybody talk about this. So we all know the financial system is in trouble. Inflation's been killing us for the past few years. Last year, my predictions, um, I still stand by all of them. There's some that need minor tweakings. The only one that I got totally wrong at the time was the um, crash at the end of the year. That did not happen. Um, as I was explained recently, that's because man is in control of that. So it's very hard to predict those things. So I will not be predicting a crash, but it's still happening. That didn't change. It's just the time frame. Um, it is coming soon. Could be as early as this month. Could be September. It's either a crash or a very major correction. Um, it's kind of wasn't clear, but the one of the beings I was talking to was giving me advice, and I just went all into cash. So, and I'm not shorting. I was going to short on the way down and then buy back in during the correction. And um, that's not going to be what I'm doing. I'm just going to buy back in during the correction. The past year, my friends have all heard about gold and silver for years. Um, last year I did great on it. This year, okay, winners and losers. The war in the Middle East really hurt that position. It's just been kind of going sideways. Um, but I will be going back in, which I'll be explaining later in the video. I'm going to go back in some other areas too that I was advised to do that. So hang on for that. So the Fed response to this crash or correction, so the Fed has two mandates. They officially, um, employment and inflation, and they've always used their tools to, pull the levers, mess with each one. I always thought that they would come with a huge cut. I was told that's not going to happen, and when he told me why, I was just like, of course. But they're going to do a small rate cut, maybe half a basis point. They're also going to talk about banking deregulation because they're going to say, oh, if we cut regulations on banks, they're going to lower their interest rates and they're going to loan more. And, that'll incentivize business and personal and blah, blah, consumption like vehicles, houses, all that stuff. And they're going to jawbone as well, which what I mean by that is they're just going to talk. And they've done that my whole life that I've been following this for, you know, almost 30 years. I've been following the Fed. They talk a lot of shit. Um, None of it's going to work. The banking deregulation is not going to work because the credit markets are absolute dog shit. And the banks are already in trouble on their own balance sheets. And after this crash, you know, a lot of people are going to be lay off. I mean, we've already seen layoffs, but a lot of people are going to be laid off going forward this year in 2027, and businesses are going to be in bad shape. The banks are going to want to take on that risk. So it's not going to work. But the issue that really it disappoints me when I find these things out. But the Fed is not trying to solve the problems at all. They're trying to prolong the damage, and they want to go to the next financial system. So this is all about destroying the middle class, massive job losses, and ushering in universal basic income, which then means you're dependent on the government and you are beholden to anything they want or say. So that's where it's going. Um, this crash will lead to domino effect. I believe I said that last year. I don't watch those videos. But boom, 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 boom. Other markets are going to crash. This is going to continue through 2026, 2027, till there is a major financial system collapse, not just a crash. It's going to collapse. Current financial system will be done. Europe, Europe's banking system is in horrible shape. It's even worse than ours, evidently. Germany will be the last one standing, and there are going to be many bank failures. Last year, I thought Bank of America, Chase, and Wells Fargo. It looks like only Wells Fargo, and I asked about shorting that one, but it won't fail till next year. So I'm going to hang tight on that one. Energy shortages are going to begin in this month in August. We've already seen them in a little bit parts of the world. So I'm not sure of the details, or like in depth details. I just know, jet fuel, gasoline will be out at some stations. Um, so prepare accordingly. I bought an electric solar generator. Also, I have a gas generator. Gasoline itself, they've added ethanol to it. I've heard that in the news. They're allowed to up the input of percentage of ethanol, but they've also evidently have added other chemicals, and I'm not sure what they are. I haven't heard anything about that, but they're all harmful for not only our engines, but for us, uh, our health as well. There's going to be supply chain shortages. They're starting now. And you got to remember, supply chains are long. So, from production to shipment to inventory and warehouses to store shelves or whatever, you get a long chain there. So even though they're starting now, most people won't be aware of them until the fourth quarter. And then in first quarter, it's going to be really bad. At that point, everybody's going to know. Here in the US, we are going to be better than most, but everything will be in short supply: food, medicine, energy, water. You remember the lockdowns a couple years ago, how toilet paper was? I mean, I've already started buying basic necessities that, just so I don't have to run out and get them or fight for them, or, we all have hoarders in the United States. What price are you going to pay if you want to get it? Um, Whatever it is, and I don't want to be in that spot. And worst case scenario, some of the stuff I buy is always available, and guess what? I just don't need to buy it for a while. But I think it's going to be pretty dire from what they're talking about. We are going to have stagflation. The stagflation is where you have inflation on some stuff, deflation on other stuff. And of course, the basic necessities and stuff like that, energy, are going to go up, but there will be things that go down. But it's just going to be a very tricky economic situation, especially since we're just being decimated by inflation as it is for the past few years. The wars are going to continue. Ukraine is going to lose. They're going to have some progress, but then they're going to start to lose really badly. And Zelensky is going to be removed from power, they say, around first quarter. And Russia will eventually take over the majority of Ukraine. Europe doesn't like this, but Europe doesn't have the money to fight. They don't have any money to go to war. So there's that. And also Israel doesn't like it either because of the resources in Ukraine. And we don't like it either, but we have our own issues as it is. The Middle East wars are not going to stop. I think you've seen it with Trump and Iran. Peace talks are on. We have peace. We're back to shooting each other. There are too many people that want these things to continue because they make too much damn money on them. They're not going to stop. but it is going to contribute and exacerbate the energy and supply chain issues that we're already having. So that's not good either. Taiwan, China's going to take it over. I don't think it's this year. I think it's 2027, maybe 2028. It's going to be a blockade, mostly bloodless. The United States isn't going to do anything. I know we have a treaty. We don't have the manpower and weapon inventory to try to do anything against somebody like China. And unofficially in the backdoor channels, they're going to say, go ahead and take it over, China. But constant wars, and the United States is going to institute a draft and conscription or conscription, whatever you want to call it. It will include women for the first time ever. So men and women of fighting age are going to be drafted to serve and to fight in the upcoming wars. A lot of unrest in the world. That's, we've already started to see some of it. Spain right now, I know, is having major issues, but all the European countries, especially, and the United States are going to have issues, along with other places in the world, stemming from the lack of resources, basic necessities, food, water, healthcare, everything else. Broken promises of politicians because the financial and social safety nets that they've always promised and told, you had are not going to be there. And also because of cultural issues, because the Western countries have brought in all these people, foreigners of different cultures, and they've brought them in more than the countries could absorb and easily or absorb in a healthy fashion. So that's going to exacerbate all this unrest. Like I said, Europe wants war, they can't afford it. If you've seen the IRAs come back in Ireland, excuse me one second, been fighting a cold past couple days. England, they've had a lot of problems with that, but you're going to see a lot more of that going forward. The elite want depopulation of the world. They don't want so many people, because they want just enough people to produce what they need and to control. There's just too many people, and they will use different tactics to accomplish this. War, viral and bacterial diseases, healthcare issues is what I'll call that, or call the next section. But anything and everything they can do to just depopulate, they will. And finally, because I didn't know where else to put this, there's going to be a major earthquake on the West Coast that's going to be very damaging to California. I don't think it's this year. It could be, but I think it's more either 2027, 2028. But it is coming. So where I get my information from is I'll call him the one that watches over me. He's kind of a secretive guy, so we'll just leave it at that. Then there's another angel that I'm kind of friends with. I'd always talk to mostly, but there's a lot of others I talk to. And then a lot of the details on the investment part I'm about to cover came from Oren, who is the angel of financial or finances and investments. For the first 6 months of this year, I didn't really reach out to them that much. But then I started talking to him again. And my friend was like, hey, we need to get you in front of Oren. And I was like, who's that? And then he told me, I was like, cool. So then last week I was talking to him like, hey, can you text him, see if we can schedule a time? I don't text, but, like to talk to him. And he's like, yeah, sure. And so it was quiet for a few moments, like, okay. And then, hey, how are you? I was like, Oren? Yeah. So that was kind of cool, came right away, and super nice guy. But I told him where I was having issues because I was like, I see these problems. I was going to short, but I don't feel safe doing it because I just can't quite get a finger on when it's going to happen. And that's when he's like, man controls the market. We don't even know. The elites are in control. And when, they're playing a lot of games right now to, kill or demoralize a lot of investors to keep making more money. So we're not sure, but there's a lot of volatility coming up. So we decided I'm not. He's like, I'm just like, I'm not going to short, and I just started moving to cash, and that way I'm in defensive. I don't win, I don't lose. We talked about AI. It's coming, but not as quick as people think. There's several problems here. There's the resource problem. The stuff to make computer chips. Lack of a better word, but RAM, SSDs. All that stuff that we can't. Um, that we won't have enough of the resources that we want to be able to get AI into place, or what they want to get AI into place. The infrastructure for electricity is not where it needs to be able to handle these data centers. And the energy requirements themselves are not enough to handle the loads of where we are at, especially when we're going to have energy issues for the foreseeable future. So he gave me 4 areas to invest going forward. I'm listening to his advice. The first one, this is in the short term, gold. I'm already in gold. I'm already in silver. He said not to buy any more silver. They're not going to let it go up. I know a lot of people thought they were going to get rich on it. Last year I was recommending, I think it was like at 38 or something, but it's like 58. I don't know where it's at now, but not a bad game. I'm not selling. He told me not to sell my stuff right now, but not to uh, buy any more silver, but buy gold. That's different. It's a tier one asset. If you don't know what that means, look it up. I'm not going to go into that today, but they are going to reprice the cost of gold, or the price of gold. So right now on the books, the United States government, gold is priced at $42.22 an ounce. That's what it was priced in 1972, the last time I repriced it. And what they'll do is they'll just say, oh, you know what? Gold's worth 20,000. So all this gold we have that we've been pricing at $42 is now $20,000. So that makes our books look much better, like overnight. And it's one of the easiest ways to make our books look better. As far the country's financial books, meaning, and also it's going to be the cornerstone of all the economies moving forward for the most part. BRICS is using their, what they call the unit, as of now, and it's going to be backed by gold and other commodities. So gold has always been a precious metal. Short term, keep going with that. So I'm going to buy back into the gold miners that I sold just recently. Next is uranium, another short term investment, again, for energy. Um, Green energy is a dream. I hate to say it. I've dealt with solar power for 20 years. It's great 98% of the time. But what people don't think is it's still dirty. The the battery, the production of the minerals and elements you need for the batteries and solar panels is very harmful in the environment for the mining and things like that. And then on top of that, when you throw out the batteries, because batteries have to be replaced, especially if they're outside, probably every couple of years, depending on the weather changes. So, and the final issue with all the green stuff is the solar, the wind. It's not going to be enough to power AI centers. So they're going to go nuclear. So uranium. So I'm going to invest in uranium miners and any other uranium type stocks in the short term. Um, Next, this is more of a long term play, but not super long, like a year or two, but copper. Guess what? Energy. So, copper electrical conductivity, it's used for wires, wiring, conduit. They need it all. So they will be, the price of copper is going to go way up. And then finally, the big one, the super secret investment that he gave me, that I have not heard anybody talk about this. And so in heaven, the last few months, the angels, like, this is their water cooler talk, no pun intended when you hear what I say, but they're talking about water tokenization. What that means is the digital current backing a digital currency backed by water. And that's where it's going. They want to control all the water. A couple months ago, I saw there was a case in Oregon where a guy was collecting rainwater. The government fined him, so he sued. He lost because The government owns the water, even the water falling out of the sky. This is going to change our lives. So the water tokenization is coming. This is another long-term play. Like a couple years, it's going to be like a really good investment. He gave me 3 recommendations for water tokens, and I've started to look into them. I haven't bought any yet, but I am going to. Genesis water tokens, Hydrocoin, and Water 150. And he said Water 150 is going to be the biggest one, but it's going to take the most time. So that is what I'm going to invest in. All right, so those are my 4 suggestions. I want to talk about the crypto space in general. So Bitcoin, XRP, Doge, whatever you like. And I hate to say this because I know the crypto bros love this stuff. They're all going to go to zero. Not right away though. You can still, if you're investing in it, great. Just when you invest, it's about when you invest. It's timing. When do you buy? When do you sell? Or when do you go short? When do you buy back? And I know people are into crypto don't want to hear this, but it's truth. And it's going to be, eventually they're going to say it's because, well, this was first generation and it wasn't backed by anything. And they're right. And when the time comes, the elite are going to go out of it. Or let me back up. I've seen Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, talking about, invest in Bitcoin. That's great. Good. Anytime he tells you to do something, you probably shouldn't do it. That's just my general stance on those type of things. Because the elites are going to go out of it. They're going to pump it up, make you feel good. You're making money. And then one day they're just all, they're the whales and they're just going to blow ship and go. And the rest of us are going to be holding a bag. And I hate to say it and I don't, because I know how people get about it, but it is a pyramid scheme because, there it's only how many people are in it. And the first people out when this happens, they'll be making the most money. And then everybody will be left with the scraps. And in 2025, Trump signed the Genius Act, which was a act that was like rules and regulations for digital currencies going forward. There was only one that I know of. There was only one as of recently, unless another one has made it, which I don't think it has, that is in full compliance with the Genius Act, and that is called Tether, and that's a next generation stablecoin. And they have bought 146 tons of gold. They own 18.8 billion at the current price. They're going to back it by gold. And the CEO of Tether was the crypto czar of Trump when he made the Genius Act. Go figure. So they're going to get out of the first generation cryptos and then go to this next generation of cryptos. So just be prepared. I'm not in cryptos except for the water stuff that I told you I'm going to do. And, just be cautious. And then for the one I asked, basically, when I was talking to the one that watches over me, I was like, do you have a message that you want me to tell everybody? Because, again, I don't like making these videos, but I am fulfilling my obligation to do so. And he said, tell everybody you must be prepared in regards to materials and your mental state. They're going to lie and use disinformation campaigns to confuse and control you. If you're not prepared, you will be fooled. So basically he's saying, know what's coming. Make sure you have stock of everything you think you need because you may not be able to get it. And even if you can, at what price? And just be prepared. Don't be fooled by everything because they're going to make a lot of promises and tell you things are going to be okay and blah, blah, blah. They're not. They're going to be okay for them for the most part. But even they have issues. The elites have issues because, there's going to be disagreements between them. So that's the final message. And that concludes this video. I guess we'll see if I make another one. I wish you all well. I hope I wish nobody would suffer for what's coming, but just I hope you, if you're watching this, you get through it okay. Take care.